My dad's new girlfriend makes him forget and neglect me, so I told her what a disgusting piece of trash she was, and he kicked me out. When I, 17F, was 11 years old, my mom passed away in a terrible car accident. Before then, she and my dad, 44M, would spend a lot of time with my sister, 13F, and me, and we used to go hiking every other weekend. My dad became a shell of his former self after the accident, and it was the hardest year of my life. It still hasn't gotten any easier. 2 years after the accident, my dad started dating a woman named Nicole, 34F, and 4 years after that, they got married. Nicole never made any effort to talk or get to know me or my sister, she only seemed interested in my dad. Early on into their relationship, my dad would invite her to go hiking with us, but she didn't like being outside, and over time, my dad stopped taking us on our weekly hikes. After that, my dad started going on elaborate trips and frequent nights out with just Nicole, leaving my sister and I home alone. I saw my dad come out of his shell, but it turned into something else entirely. I started feeling neglected and like I was losing my father. One time he even forgot Mom's birthday. After Nicole came into our lives, my dad just wasn't there anymore. One time, when my sister and I were home alone, she fell down the stairs and got a huge cut on her forehead. It was clear she needed stitches, so I called my dad immediately. Nicole answered the phone, and I told her to give the phone to my father. She refused, saying he was busy, and before I could get another word in, she disconnected the call. Embarrassingly, I had to ask the neighbor to bring us to urgent care, where my dad later met us. At one point, this woman removed my mom's picture from the fire mantle to put up a picture of her and my dad from their trip to Washington. The thing that tipped me over the edge was when she made my dad forget about my mom's birthday. Every year, my sister and I would go with our dad to visit my mom on her birthday. It was an annual tradition even before Nicole entered our lives. Nicole and my dad went on a trip to Florida and were supposed to be back 3 days before my mom's birthday. However, because Nicole gets motion sickness, my dad decided to break the drive back into small intervals to make it easier on her, and because of this, he ended up missing our annual trip. He didn't even call us. Not even a week later, he had the nerve to tell us that he had an exciting surprise: Nicole was pregnant. I got angry and told him, "How could you knock her up when you can't even be here for us?" I then looked at Nicole and told her she is a disgusting piece of trash and to get out of our lives. To that, my dad got angry and yelled at me to go up to my room. Later, my grandpa unexpectedly came over to pick me up. My father didn't text me anything. Even as I left, he wouldn't even look at me. It's been 2 days, and I'm still at my grandparents' home. I feel ashamed for saying what I said, yet I don't feel overwhelming regret. Edit. I didn't touch on this before, but I am currently living with my paternal grandparents. They live closer to us than my maternal side grandpa. I've tried talking to my paternal grandparents too, but it was also a very wishy-washy conversation. Not to say it didn't help at times, but it's clear that they were justifying my dad's actions at every chance rather than hearing me out. I don't want to live like this. I hate holding resentment, but I can't help it. Update 1. Hi everyone, it's been a while. Thanksgiving has come and gone, and we had dinner at my grandparents' house. When my dad and Nicole arrived, I asked if I could speak with both of them. My dad said he didn't want to talk and went into the living room. Nicole still remained by the front door, so I apologized for insulting her. She replied that she needed to leave and went to the living room. Overall, she still seemed rightfully angry with me. Dinner was awkward because my grandma would try to get my dad and me to talk, but he wouldn't really bother. After dinner, I pulled him aside and apologized again, but he ignored me and went straight to Nicole. I still wasn't sure if I was heading back with him or not, so I packed everything just in case. When he was getting ready to leave, I asked him if I could come back home, and he said Nicole wasn't comfortable having me home, even though it had been a few days since the incident. I spent the entire night crying on the phone with my sister. I called my maternal grandpa when everyone was still sleeping, and it ended up being a 2-hour call. I basically mentioned to him everything I've said here and how I want to live with him if possible. He said that as much as he wants to get me out of here, he can't do much without my father's approval. I hinted at a legal approach, but he said he wouldn't be able to see us if it got that far. After having the call with my maternal grandpa, he reached out to my paternal grandparents a couple of days later to discuss my situation. I overheard the conversation between them, and my maternal grandpa expressed concern about me, especially my mental state, and asked my paternal grandparents if they were willing to talk to my dad about putting me in therapy. My grandparents said they'd be willing to take me to their church's mental support group or talk with their faith leader who specializes in grief counseling. My grandpa pushed back on the idea and mentioned the need for more professional help, but they were not receptive to the idea. All three of them also had a heated conversation about my living arrangement. My grandpa said it was ridiculous for a grown man to throw out his daughter, and it was shameful that my paternal grandparents were not adamant about helping me get back home. That's all I heard regarding the conversation. Now, my grandma started taking me to weekly private sessions with a faith leader. I'm not entirely happy with the arrangement, but it has helped me start to process my grief in a healthier way. Also, I am still living with my grandparents. I apologized over and over through text to my dad and through my grandparents, but he has not responded. My maternal grandpa has called my dad many times, but my dad blocked him. I am contemplating telling my school counselor next semester all the details regarding my dad and not omitting anything to protect him. I also wasn't invited to my dad and Nicole's Christmas dinner, which hurt, but I'm starting to not care about having a relationship with my dad. I don't know if my feelings will change. In a twisted way, it was good he didn't let me go back home with him. The space has helped me focus on myself. Update 2. Everything is a mess right now, so I'll try my best to be coherent. In hindsight, this was an idiotic mistake on my end, but after scheduling a meeting with my counselor, I mentioned it while calling my sister. On the call, I never explicitly mentioned my intention to report him, but she started freaking out and told me it wasn't a good idea. She ended up crying on the call, saying that I would be hurting our father if I reported him. I told her that I wouldn't go to the meeting to help her calm down. Regardless, I still planned on going to the counselor meeting. I scheduled the meeting during the second week of January while my dad was out in California. The night before the meeting, I received a call from my dad. He said that if I ever wanted a place to live again, I shouldn't spread lies about him to the counselor. I assured him that I would never do that, and that was the end of the call. This was the first time I had spoken to him in days, and I never gave any indication of reporting him. I realized my sister must have said something, so I called her to talk. I asked her why she would tell him something like this, and she said that he called her to ask what I was doing. She slipped up and told him that I was planning to meet with the counselor. I still ended up going to the counselor meeting, and I told him everything that was going on. I asked the counselor not to notify my dad about the meeting, and he said he wouldn't. At the very end, the counselor gave me a couple pamphlets for mental health support and said he would follow up with me. He also dodged my questions regarding what would happen from then on. A day later, right after I got home from school, my paternal grandpa called me over and said he wanted to talk. He told me that the school had called my dad to set up a meeting with the counselor. He started to yell and get angry with me, saying that if I pulled his crap, they'll take my sister and the baby away. He also said that I wasn't raised to lie and continued to reprimand me. I never thought my grandpa was capable of being this way, but it scared me how angry he got. I also got grounded, so I'm not allowed to drive or visit friends for a couple of weeks. I don't know exactly what went down in the meeting between the counselor and my dad, but from what I can gather from my grandpa, there was a police officer present in the meeting, and they will be conducting a wellness check. Also, my dad denied everything that I told the counselor and chalked it up to me being spiteful because I lost my mom. I wasn't in a good mental state afterward, and I still am not. Recently, all I can do now to pass the time is call my friend and ask her to stay on the phone with me, otherwise I'm just rotting in my room. As a punishment, my grandma stopped taking me to the faith leader, so that's my current situation.